I'm Lonna Kelly, and this is Hudson Valley Art Speak. Thank you for tuning in today. We're going to be talking to Stephen Cihanek today, and you might remember Stephen. He's been on the show before talking about photography, but we have a whole new subject tonight. We're going to be talking about the recent solar eclipse, which Stephen went to the belt of totality to see it and photograph it. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Lonna.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, I was, when I found out that you had gone actually to photograph the eclipse, I just was so annoyed at myself that I didn't. So I'm really glad to be able to talk to you about it and hear how it went for you.
Yeah, it'll be great. And just to give you a heads up, there's another one in 7 years.
I'm planning on going to
and
it.
It's going to be coming through New York. So
yeah,
you don't have to go too far this time.
What could be better,
Yeah.
right? Right. So what prompted you to do this?
Really, I didn't know too much about it at first, but there's a educational video series called Smarter Every Day that I'm kind of into watching, and the host kind of gave a whole podcast on this upcoming solar eclipse, and he was really excited about it and talked with an expert and explained all the different things to look for, because it's not just the fact that the moon is covering the sun. There's a lot of other things that kind of happen during an eclipse that you have to see. And I got kind of excited about it too, so I bought solar filters and solar glasses and kind of planned to go down, because luckily it happened to be going about a mile away from where my parents live. So,
oh, really?
So it just kind of worked out really well.
Yeah, yeah. So you had to buy some equipment for your cameras?
Yeah, just filters. Mainly because anytime you're trying to photograph the sun and you're going to leave your camera pointing at it for any real length of time, you can really destroy it
Yeah,
if you don't.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Yeah, and of course the filters for your eyes,
Yes.
the glass. I had thought originally that if you bought the proper cardboard eyeglasses and you would be able to look through the camera at the sun and it would be okay, but I didn't realize that the camera could get, it's censored, could get damaged.
Now, if you YouTube any of that or Google any of that, you'll see tons of pictures of cameras that were destroyed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't do it then. I was so tempted.
Yeah.
I was so tempted.
But like a quick pick, especially if you're not completely zoomed in, is fine. I did have two video cameras out that were very, very wide shots, and they survived it fine. I didn't use filters on those, but anything I was zooming in as tight as I could on the sun, I used filters on that.
Yeah, yeah. And you just ordered them online? Because I know you must have done it enough in advance, because by the time I tried to buy them, there was none to be had.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, as soon as I saw that video podcast, I think it's called, I'm not really sure, that Smarter Everyday series, I went online right away and just I ordered what I needed, and just hoped that it was going to work out and hoped the weather was going to hold up. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I know up here it was kind of cloudy, at least until the sun broke out. Literally.
Yeah.
And so where were you, in North Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yep.
How was it down there?
Well, honestly, up till a couple days before, it was supposed to be pretty stormy, at least rainy. And then the day before, I checked the weather in the morning, and it said it was going to be partly cloudy. So I kind of banked on the partly not cloudy side of that equation, and got in the car and headed down. So.
Yeah, and you said it's a 13-hour drive?
It's a 13-hour drive, but I knew there was going to be traffic. But on the way down, luckily, I really only hit some construction. On the way back, a 13-hour drive took me 17 and a half. I think it was all the people leaving. So.
Yeah. So once you got there, where did you go someplace specific, or had you pre-planned where you would watch?
Yeah, I really wanted to be right smack in the center of the zone of totality, so I can see it be in the eclipse for the longest period of time. But that was going to be about an hour to an hour and a half north of where my parents were, and I really wanted them to come with me. So I looked around their town and found a place that the eclipse would actually be roughly, I think it was like a minute and a half, maybe it was 2 minutes. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it was a short amount of time, but it was still good. You know, right near their house, it would have been in and out of totality within seconds, but we drove maybe about a half an hour from them and onto a piece of property that my papa had access to, and set up the cameras there. So my parents were there, my brother-in-law and my nephew were able to come. So.
That's great. That's great. It's nice to be able to share it with somebody. I had first thought, oh, I'll just stay at home and I'll watch it myself. But I ended up with my brother and his family because they had off from work that day too. And it was much better, I found, to do it, go and do it with somebody else.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun. And if you look at any of the videos I've posted, I have a 360-degree video, so you can kind of zoom around and see my family and see my camera set up. It's on YouTube right now. But you get to kind of hear everybody, like just the expressions and when things were happening. And like I tried to explain to them a few things that we kind of should pay attention to. There's basically it's going to be like a 360-degree sunset all around us. I said, look for that. I said, listen for the crickets, because crickets and the birds are going to think that it's nighttime, and it's going to start they're going to start doing their chirping as if it's evening. Right before and right after the total eclipse, there's something called shadow bands. And it doesn't happen in every eclipse, and it doesn't happen at every location during every eclipse, but we were actually able to see it. And basically, I don't know are you familiar with them at all, shadow bands?
No, is that the rays that come out?
No, that's actually not at the sun itself. It's on the ground around you. Basically, it looks like waves of shadows just moving across the ground. People have described it as looks like millions of snakes just squirming around. Wow. And so I was able to film that, and what I found interesting about it, and I don't know why it did this, but if anybody out there, knows, maybe they can get in touch with me. But so there's four points during the eclipse. There's a C1, which is when the moon just touches the edge of the sun. Well, it doesn't physically touch it, but just crosses the edges of it. There's C2, where the other side touches, crosses the edge of the sun, so now it's completely covered. C3 is when it hits the other end, and then C4 is when it completely leaves it. So right before C2 and right after C3 is when you'll get the shadow bands, and I got both of them. But what was interesting is that they moved. C2 shadow bands moved one way, and then the C3 shadow bands moved exactly 90 degrees from it.
Oh, really?
And I was trying to understand the physics behind it, and I just wasn't quite grasping it, but maybe somebody could explain that.
Maybe somebody can explain it to you. Well, if they can get in touch with you if they see your when they see your email on the screen. Yeah. So what else did you see? Like when it's in totality.
So when it's in totality, at that point, you actually kind of, I forgot the term, something about pearls, but it kind of looks like a pearl necklace around it, and it's basically the craters and the ridges on the moon, and you're seeing the light just kind of peeking through that, and then just on either edge of it, you get this really bright. A bright point on it, which I think they describe as a diamond ring. And when you take a picture of it, you get a lens flare, which just really kind of blows it out. Now, that the flare that you'll see in my photos is not what it really looked like in reality. It just happens to be the way the lens kind of picks that up. But it was still pretty amazing to kind of just to be able to see that with your own eyes. And everything gets very dark, doesn't it? It's like it's nighttime. Yeah, so it seemed like it was a matter of seconds. So even as we're watching the moon through the glasses, you can see the moon crossing the sun. You take the glasses off and you look around you, and it still looks like daytime to you. And it's really not until it seems like 30 seconds or so before, maybe a minute or so before it actually covers the sun. it still seems like daylight. Then all of a sudden it starts to get dim very, very quickly. The shadows look really weird because at night you're used to seeing long shadows, but it looks like the night, but it's very, very short shadows because the sun is like right over the top of us. It just looked odd. Crickets were chirping. You can see stars in the sky. I think, I'm not sure, there was, is it Mercury possibly or Mars? I think where that was on. They were on either side of the sun at that point. One of my photos, you could actually see a little dot to the side of the sun. I'm thinking it was. I think it was Mercury possibly. But you definitely saw stars. The crickets went crazy. It got cool very quickly. The wind picked up a bit, and then all of a sudden it just completely did the opposite. The shadow started coming back as it kind of left. The weird shadows, the shadow bands on the ground. Crickets started to kind of get less and less, and it just got extremely hot because it was, South Carolina.
So, are you going to become like an eclipse chaser? Are you going to go to different eclipses across the world? What do you think?
I honestly, after that, I just got extremely excited about it. I would love to. Across the world, possibly if finances allow it. But definitely anything that happens here in the U.S. or especially a place that I can drive to. Like I said, the one that's going to happen in 7 years, I'm definitely going upstate New York to see that.
I've already decided I'm going to do the same thing. I'm looking forward to it. So, did anything in your experience with different types of photography, do you feel that anything prepared you for that?
It may sound strange, but I would say actually my wedding photography prepared me for it. Not necessarily in the technical side of camera settings and how to take the pictures, but just because the very interesting portion visually when it comes to taking photos of the eclipse happens in a very short amount of time, and weddings happen very quickly, and you don't have a whole lot of time to think and to make adjustments. So I think the shooting under pressure of my wedding photography actually helped with the shooting under pressure for the eclipse photography. Technically, no, that was very different. That I just kind of researched as much as I could beforehand, and then just hoped it worked out.
Did you change your exposure while you were shooting, or did you just leave it set on?
Yes. So during pre-totality, and I'm shooting through the lens, I had to set one exposure, but then as soon as it went into totality, I had to take the filters off, and then I had to shoot, obviously a little bit, and it was darker, so I had to actually open up. I didn't think I opened up my aperture. I think I slowed down my shutter speed a little bit just to capture that, and then I left the lens filter off for a little bit of those diamond ring photos, but then once I got a little bit more light coming out of the sun, I threw that back on. Stephen,
could you just tell us quickly where we could see the videos and the other photos that you have posted online?
Yeah, so if you go to Pix, Cihanek, CIHANEK.com/eclipse. I have a bunch of these photos that are posted on there. I have my 360-degree video. I have the shadow bands video and a little time lapse of the actual eclipse happening. You'll see it kind of jumps around a little bit in that I was kind of changing exposures during that in order to make sure I kept it on the screen. But so that's on there too, and then that will also bring you a link back to my website where if you actually want to purchase any of these photos, you can do that.
And how about where if they wanted to go someplace to see them, where could they see them?
Physically see them.
No, I meant online, but now I'm asking physically see them.
Yes, I'm sorry. Right now, at least for the next couple of weeks, they're in the lobby of the Brookfield Theater. And I have submitted them to another theater in Patterson. If it gets accepted, you'll be able to see it over at the Front Street Gallery.
Okay, great. Well, that's all the time we have today. So thanks so much. It was really great talking to you about this and learning more about it.